Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Lucimus Prime here. So it is time for another franchise ranking video today, and in today's video I'm going to be ranking this time a video game trilogy, and this is a trilogy made by the company called 2K Games, and it's 3 games which were originally released on 7th generation consoles but then got a remaster on PS4 and Xbox One in a collection of 3 games. And this is also one of my favourite first-person shooter franchises of all time, which of course is none other than the trilogy of Bioshock. So I'm going to be ranking all 3 of the games, being Bioshock, Bioshock 2 and Bioshock Infinite. And this will be a ranking from best to weakest because, in my opinion, guys, none of these games are bad. In my opinion, they're all really good games and I really enjoyed playing all 3 of them. So this is also my personal opinion, guys, so if you guys don't agree, that's absolutely fine, but please respect my opinion just like I respect yours. So, kicking off this franchise ranking then, so in first place for me is what is probably one of my favourite video game sequels of all time, which of course is none other than 2010's Bioshock 2, the second game of the franchise. So, this was of course from 2010, and I definitely really love this game. It's one of my favourite video game sequels of all time. I think what's great about it is it takes what made the first game great and adds more to it to make it better and better, in my opinion. I think he did a really amazing job doing that. And I must say as well, for a game which used to be on 7th generation console, it had really great graphics for its time. And in my opinion, it's aged really well. I can't comment on the 7th generation version of this game because I've only played it on PS4, so I can't comment on that version, but I played this version. And in my opinion, on remaster, graphics were really good. And it was lots of fun in terms of action with a variety of weapons. And I really like the setting as well, which is the underwater city of Rapture. I think a first-person shooter game taking place in an underwater city was a very creative idea. And I also as well love the powers you can also use in the game as well. I think that's really cool. And yes, guys, I would also say this franchise is better than Call of Duty 2 because of the use of powers, which is definitely an amazing new addition. It's kind of like a shooter franchise meets the Elder Scrolls in a way, kind of, when it comes to powers on the left hand, really, which is really cool. So I do like that about it. And I think the game is just absolutely amazing, with also a great story, and it's also well paced. And I also really appreciate how as well the game also was made to be easier than the first game, because it shows you where you can go in the game in terms of like a waypoint. Whereas in the first game it was quite confusing because it didn't do that, but thankfully in this game it did do that, which I really appreciated. So I definitely really love Bioshock 2. My opinion, one of the greatest video game sequels of all time, one of the best games ever made. So if I were to give a game a score out of 10, I would definitely give it for me a full-blown 10 out of 10. Then on to what is my second favourite in the franchise. I'm going to be going with, of course, what is actually the latest installment to the franchise, the third one, which, of course, is none other than, of course, 2013's Bioshock Infinite. And this was, of course, a late 7th generation game because 8th generation was, of course, coming. But I will say, well, in my opinion, this game was also fantastic. So what's great about it is I really like the character Booker DeWitt in this game. I think he's actually the first protagonist in the game who actually talks, so I really like having introduced that in the game to make it stand out. And he's voiced by Troy Baker, and in my opinion he's one of Troy Baker's best roles in his career. He's a great voice actor, and Booker is definitely one of the roles of Troy Baker. And I loved the action in the game. Once again, it was lots of fun, and I loved the story in the game too. I thought it was great, and powers once again as well. And I think this game, of course, stands out to others mainly because, of course, the main character talks this time, which is definitely a nice new addition to a game, really. I really like that about it. I mean, sure, it doesn't add up to Bioshock 2 in my opinion, and that could probably be because, while I, of course, had a really fun time playing the game, I kind of feel that maybe it went a bit too fast because I only played it in like 2 days and I finished it really quickly, which was definitely a big surprise. But so maybe it could have been a bit longer, to be honest, in terms of the length of it, but it was still really fun, though. You know, I really loved it. I mean, I loved, of course, the story, the visual design, the graphics as well were also amazing as well. And also Troy Baker's Booker was definitely a highlight. And also, it showed you where you could go if you asked it to, show you a waypoint, which I really appreciate, so that made it a lot easier. But it would have been cool if the game was slightly longer in terms of story. I mean, I don't know, of course, how long you guys play it for when you play it, but I played it in just 2 days and I finished it. So, yeah, it was quite short for me, but nonetheless, I love Bioshock Infinite. It's a great sequel, indeed, and a great end to this trilogy. So, if I was to give it a score out of 10, I would definitely give it, for me, a very solid score of 9 out of 10. Now, on to what is, of course, the third place on this ranking, but not a bad game by any means, just in my opinion, the weakest of a franchise. I'm, of course, going to go with what is the first game, Bioshock, the first one of the trilogy. Now, because it's in last place, I'm not saying it's a bad game by any means. I just think it's weaker than the previous 2 games I've talked about. So, on to what's good about it then. So, a good quality, of course, is the graphics are really good for its time. I mean, considering it was, of course, a 2007 video game, I think it had really good graphics for its time, I must say, really. I think it holds up really well, especially on the remaster. I think it translated to a remaster really well, in my opinion. And I thought the story was also really good too as well in the game, and the action was really good. And I think the way it introduced the lore of the franchise and the powers was, in my opinion, really well done. And I really enjoyed that about it. I think he did a really great job kicking off this franchise, really. I mean, I've got to appreciate the game, because without this game, we wouldn't have this great franchise, would we? And it was definitely lots of fun. However, if I was thinking any bad qualities with this game, it could probably be that some parts were really confusing. For example, there were some parts where I got lost because the game doesn't show you where you got to go on a waypoint. You've got to figure out for yourself. And I got lost, unfortunately, several times. And I nearly gave up on it at some point because I got so lost and confused. But thankfully, though, I looked at walkthroughs how to do, and I thankfully knew what to do from that. And also, as well, there were some parts where the game glitched for me as well and shut off, unfortunately, so I had to restart it. But thank goodness for I kept saving checkpoints. So that's one of my tips if you're a gamer, is make sure you save at checkpoints so you can save your progress. And that's what I did, thankfully. But nonetheless, what I stole from the game is really good despite those issues. And if I was to give it a score out of 10, I would definitely give it, for me, a very solid score of 8 out of 10. So guys, that's me, of course, doing my ranking of the Bioshock games from best to weakest. So when it comes to ranking, first place for me is Bioshock 2, second place is Bioshock Infinite, and third place for me is the first game, Bioshock. Not a bad game in my opinion when it comes to the trilogy. In my opinion, they're all really good games. I'll definitely recommend them if you guys have not played them. It's a great first-person shooter franchise with really fun things in them to try out, definitely. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys think of Bioshock. How would you guys rank the 3 games of the franchise? Tell me in the comments below how you'd rank them. I'll tell you what your ranking is. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and you'll come in the future. And I'll see you all later.